to Justice Together. I'm Sandeep and this is Leanne and we're from the We Are Tearfund community.
We're here to unpack social issues that we know are affecting us right now. So let's get started with the session looking at fast fashion.
Have any of you played Heads Up? Well, you're going to play a game similar to that now, but all about fashion. So in a moment, you're going to see some brands that you have to describe and your team has to guess which one it is. But you can't use the name or the letters which are in the word. But you can act and you can speak to explain it. So get your acting hat on and have some fun.
Keeping on top of the latest fashion trends is a time-consuming process. It uses our money, our time, and our energy, creating a sense of comparison between us. We can feel like we're behind, and only through buying more will we ever catch up. Christians get a bad rep, so surely we need to be trendy to show that we are different and cool and worth listening to. But was Jesus trendy? Did he make sure he fit in before he spoke a countercultural message? No. Jesus stayed faithful to what the Father had asked him to say and trusted that in doing so, the hearts and minds of those around him would be open to it by God's grace.
So it's not wrong to love fashion and want to look good, but when people's human rights are at stake of that, we have to rethink our priorities. Fashion is one of the most labour-intensive industries, employing over 60 million people. However, it is one of the 5 key industries most linked to modern slavery.
Although it is nice to have new clothes, many of the workers globally are in bonded labour, forced to work overtime without being paid. Children have to skip school to pick cotton, and women face violence if they don't work fast enough. Many workers can even become trapped with their passports confiscated until they repay their debts. Not to mention the amount of waste the industry creates. Creating a pair of blue jeans uses around 1,800 gallons of water to grow the cotton for one pair. One t-shirt takes 400 gallons of water to grow enough cotton. Of the 53 million tons of fibre produced each year, 70% goes on bonfires and landfills. Less than 1% is used to make clothes.
Do we think it's worth it? Let's see what the Bible has to say about it, but first, we're going to do an activity with you.
We want you to go on your phones and go to the website on the screen. This shows you how ethical the shops that you buy your clothes from are. What was the last item of clothing that you bought or were given? How does it rank as an ethical shop? Pause this video and have a look.
Hi, my name is Laura and I am part of the We Are Tearfund community, and it's a joy and a privilege to talk through what the Bible says about fashion and about fast fashion and about how we can live for God and live in a Jesus-like way through the things that we wear. One of the first things is that it's really hard sometimes when you think about an issue like fashion or about fast fashion, the kind of fashion system that we have in 2021 when you try and think about the Bible. Jesus didn't shop online, the internet wasn't a thing back when he was around, and actually throughout the Bible it's really hard to think of something to compare the kind of fashion world that we have today. In the Bible you can't search for the term online shopping, next day delivery, or ask what people's clothes were made of. Actually, in the Bible, they don't really talk about the way that our fashion is at all. But the Bible does talk about how as Christians, we can live for God, we can live in his world, we can love our neighbour, and how we can live in a way that is aligned with his plan for justice and restoration. There's one passage that I think of time and time again when I think about fashion, and that is from the book of Proverbs, which is in the Old Testament, in the first part of the Bible. And right at the end of the book of Proverbs, in chapter 31, the final chapter, we hear two parts. The first part about how we should live as a king, or what a good king looks like. And the second part is about how to be a godly woman. And these two passages, even if you're not going to be a king or aren't a woman, these passages actually tell us a lot about what it looks like to live in a Christian way, to love our neighbours. And this passage, this chapter, has two bits in particular which I think about when I think about the clothes that I wear and the fashion that I buy. The first couple of verses that I think of are from this chapter, from Proverbs 31, and it is verses 8 and 9. And I'll read out these verses and hopefully you can see why they jump to mind after hearing a lot of what we've heard when we think about the fashion industry around the world. These verses say, "Speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, for the rights of all who are destitute. Speak up and judge fairly. Defend the rights of the poor and needy." I often think about these verses when we hear the stories of people who are in the fashion industry, people who are treated unfairly, who aren't paid a living wage or even a minimum wage, people who are trapped in exploitation, in supply chains which have no justice. And one of the things I've felt is that in the last few years, we've heard more and more stories of how people are being impacted by our broken fashion industry. And I think about, what does it look like for me to speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, for me to defend the rights of the poor and needy, those who are in need in the fashion industry. I think about how I can use my voice as a consumer to talk to the brands that I love about how they could do better. I think about how I can use my voice in my local community, among my family and my friends, even online on social media, how I can talk about fashion and how we can push for better. I think about the ways that we can do this collectively and how we can run campaigns and see a big difference. I like to think about these verses to think about how we as Christians should be speaking out around the issues of fashion. But there is also another verse which is in this same chapter, Proverbs 31, and it's in the second half when we hear the kind of values of a godly woman. But I think this has such a powerful message when we think about the fashion industry. When describing godly traits, this verse 25 says, "She is clothed with strength and dignity. She can laugh at the days to come." I think about those two words, strength and dignity. I think about, what does it look like for me as an individual to clothe myself not just as a value, as a character with strength and dignity, but also really practically, what does it look like for me to dress myself with strength and dignity in the clothes that I choose to wear? What brands do I choose to give my money to? And what way do I shop for my clothes? But not only this, I think about, how do I clothe? How do we clothe? How do, as Christians, we clothe those who make our clothes in strength and dignity? How do we bring dignity back to those who are in the fashion industry? How do we bring strength and dignity to those who are often trapped in exploitation within this world system? I like to think about these verses because these verses are so key when we think about how we live as individuals, how we choose the fashion that we wear. As individuals, there is so much that we can do to change our habits around fashion, to have conversations, to encourage other people to maybe change their habits too, and also to push for better in this system. When I think about how to live a more ethical lifestyle or sustainable lifestyle, often the first thing people ask or people talk about is the amount of sacrifices that we have to make. It feels like we have to give up a lot when thinking about living a life that is more just for everyone. But one of the things I think about is not actually about what I'm sacrificing, but actually how I am aligning my life with God's will. Instead of writing a list of all of the things I can't do, all of the shops that I shouldn't be buying things from, all of the brands that I have to boycott, or all of the things I have to give up, actually, I ask God, what are the ways I can live my life for you? How can I shop that is in a way that loves you and that is showing your love to those around me? How can I give up my lifestyle in a way that is in worship to you? And I ask God this with every part of my life, even in the clothes that I buy. That's one of the things I want to encourage you to do. It's not to think about the things we have to give up, but ask, how can we offer up things to God? How can we spend time praying with God, asking Him to reveal in our lives how we can live in a way that is in accordance with His will, in accordance with His restoration and love, and how can we seek out justice through the way that we live our lives? For me, when I began my own personal journey to thinking about sustainability, sustainable fashion, living an ethical lifestyle, and being better, not just to the planet, but to try and love my neighbours better. When I thought about this in terms of fashion, God revealed to me the ways that we can still look good, be fashionable, express ourselves and express our culture, but in a way that is loving to our neighbours and to Him and to the planet. It's about looking into how we can avoid buying lots of new stuff, avoid overconsumption, over-exploitation of the planet's resources and people in supply chains. Thinking about how we can take care of the clothes that we already have, learning how to look after them, to mend them, to wash them carefully, to protect them and to keep them, prolong their lives. I look around my wardrobe and it's great to see that I've had items of clothing in there for maybe 10 years or more, nearly half my life. And it's great to see that those provisions from God keep going. I've looked into how I can still buy new things for me, but maybe they're secondhand from charity shops or online platforms, from vintage sales, or from swapping with friends and family. Thinking about the way that we can keep the clothes that we already have in circulation for longer than just us. Thinking about how I can invest in sustainable brands, smaller makers and local independent places. Sometimes these things might cost a bit more, but that's because we are paying everyone a fair wage throughout. I often think that if clothes are cheap, it means that somebody else is paying the price rather than me. And so I've taught myself to value clothes and to invest when I can in better clothes, more sustainable clothes, and clothes which I know are being made by people who are paid a living wage. All of the things that we do with our lifestyles can be given up and offered to God, and fashion is one of those. It's been a journey that I've enjoyed going on, but one of the best things has been bringing other people along with me. Whether that was my flatmates at university, encouraging them to swap our dresses when it came to balls to avoid buying new ones, or offering up each other our old clothes when they maybe didn't fit or we wanted a new change, and encouraging each other to go and shop in charity shops instead of online. These are all things that you can do within your communities, within your family and your friend groups. But what I also want to encourage you to do is pray about this. Pray with God about how we can live our lives differently through the fashion that we wear. Ask God how He can live through you in the choices that you make, with the fashion you wear and the things that you buy. Pray with God to ask Him to reveal Himself through your lifestyle and how you can live in accordance with His will. I hope this has given you something to think about when we talk about fashion and fast fashion, how we as Christians can live differently, live an example life, be salt and light through the clothes that we wear, and think differently about moving away from fast fashion towards a more fair and just system for all.
At We Are Tearfund, we know that following Jesus means faith and action. In James 2, verse 18, it says, "But someone will say, 'You have faith, I have deeds. Show me your faith without deeds, and I will show you my faith by my deeds.'" We want to make sure that we are practically and purposefully standing with our global neighbours because our faith produces good works. So why don't you join us in that right now?
As a group, we'd love for you to take part in one of our fundraising initiatives. Not only will you raise money and funds for our global neighbours facing extreme poverty, but you're practicing what you preach. There are 3 ideas we have for you to get involved in. So we've got the climb, which is a physical challenge where you could climb a mountain, but inside your home, right? Easier version of it. But take on your stairs daily to climb the height of either Ben Nevis, the 4 Peaks, or Kilimanjaro over 7, 14, or 28 days. This is ideal for an active team who would still like the flexibility for which mountain they take on. There's also the Online Arts Festival. So if being creative is your strength, then why not virtually take on the Arts Festival to help raise funds for Tearfund? This could be showcasing your own musical talent or bringing many friends and family along to show their skills in an online festival. Or if you're a creative bunch with weird and wonderful ideas, if you have an idea different to the other ones above, then it might be an incredible one. So ask yourself, is this fun and different? Why not do it? Would you sponsor someone to do it? Can it be easily communicated? Is this a £1,000 idea?
If you have an idea that fits this, then let your youth leader know. We want you to be you and use your creativity. Some people did jumping jacks again and again for £1,000. You could even link it to fast fashion. What creative ideas can you think of to show people the realities of the clothes that we buy? Liv went swimming in a loch in winter in freezing Scotland every day for 24 days, and she raised £1,700 for her fundraiser.
So check out our PDF for more examples and ideas of what you could do. The bigger, the bolder, the better. We would love to see the new ideas of you guys all showing off your personalities. So whatever fundraising idea you end up choosing, make sure you use the hashtag JusticeXTogether so that we can share and post what you're getting up to. So thanks for joining us for this session. We hope you've enjoyed it and we look forward to seeing you in the next one. Take care.